4 o'clock in New York, a stark reminder that we do not live in normal times up on Capitol Hill today. And what would have just been a normal routine budget hearing, questioning quickly focused in on the flurry of reported controversies FBI Director Kash Patel has created for himself. Since we are not dealing with a normal or routine head of the nation's top law enforcement agency, we want to show you the very first line of questioning Kash Patel faced from Democratic Senator Chris Van Hollen.
I really don't care about your personal life so long as you are able to perform your public and official responsibilities, which are awesome responsibilities. Multiple reports, including reporting by The Atlantic, have alleged episodes of excessive drinking, unexplained absences, and behavior that concern current and former FBI and DOJ officials. You have publicly denied those allegations and filed a defamation lawsuit. So today, as you testify before Congress, is it your testimony that those allegations are categorically false?
Unequivocally, categorically false.
So there have been no occasions during your tenure when FBI personnel were unable to promptly reach you?
Absolutely not. You can ask my entire workforce. They hear from me at every single hour of the day, as do these great gentlemen here, as do the men and women of the interagency and state and local law enforcement and the White House.
And so there have been no occasions when your security detail had difficulty waking or locating you, is that right?
Nope, it's a total farce. I don't even know where you get this stuff, but it doesn't make it credible because you say so.
I'm not saying it, Director Patel. It's been written and documented.
You are literally saying it.
No, I'm saying that these are reports, Director Patel.
You running a $7,000 bar tab at the lobby bar has been filed by your own office.
This goes to show
during the day. That's you. This is the ultimate example of hypocrisy.
Chairman,
I will not be tarnished by baseless allegations and fraudulent statements from the media.
The fact that you mentioned that indicates you don't know what you are talking about.
Extraordinary, even by today's Trumpian reorganizing of what's normal. As a reminder of how the FBI would act under ordinary circumstances, under normal times, take a listen to Donald Trump's first director of the FBI, Jim Comey. He was on this program yesterday, and we asked him about those branded bottles of bourbon that Kash Patel is reportedly distributing. What is Kash Patel's deal? He just was reported to have made Kash Patel with the S as a dollar sign, and his name is on an FBI emblazoned bottle of bourbon. Did you have bourbon?
I did not.
No? This is it.
Nor a dollar sign in my name.
This is what Kash Patel gives out on behalf of America's premier law enforcement agency. What is that? What signal does that send?
I don't remember a lot from law school, but there was an expression, res ipsa loquitur, meaning the thing speaks for itself, and so the thing speaks for itself.
Senator Van Hollen was not the only lawmaker to bring up all of the alleged chaos at the FBI. Here is Senator Patty Murray.
We need somebody at this agency who's focused on solving criminal cases, not passing out branded bourbon or jetting around the globe. Your job is to be reachable. And I know Senator Van Hollen asked you about this, but I gotta say, if you want to pass out liquor or pop bottles in a locker room, stick to podcasting. Leave Law and Order to people who really do care about justice and appearances.
The hearing is still happening, and we will dip into it and return to it if questioning there justifies that or if any news is made. FBI Director Kash Patel confronted about recent reports about the chaos he has created on his watch. It's where we begin today with senior investigative reporter Carol Leonnig. Also joining us, Asha Rangappa. She's a former special agent at the FBI, now a senior lecturer at Yale School of Global Affairs. And with me here at the table, legal analyst Christy Greenberg. She's a former criminal division deputy chief at SDNY and the host of the YouTube show Courtside. Carol Leonnig, let me start with you on Kash Patel being confronted with some of the recent news accounts about him. Your thoughts?
No, I thought it was interesting for him. Interesting is probably a Minnesota kind of euphemism, Midwestern euphemism. Interesting way for him to start to claim that Chris Van Hollen has a large daytime bar bill in answer to the question about whether or not you have ever had to be rousted by FBI agents as a result of alcohol-fueled nights or been unreachable as a result of this. It really said it was false, but didn't really directly go at it except to go after the senator. There have been many times, Nicole, that my colleague and I, Ken Delanian, have written about activities by Kash Patel that have disturbed and worried FBI agents. And in almost every case, the FBI, via the director or the spokesperson, have denied these things as absolutely false. And I watched Patel deny all these things as absolutely false that I personally know to be true. For example, that at his direction, numerous agents were polygraphed who had been on his security detail. Those both who had been and are currently on his security detail were being ordered to being polygraphed last week. He said that wasn't true, and I know from our sourcing and other materials that it is. So it worries me to see this kind of pushback, but I understand from the sources we have inside the FBI and the Justice Department that Kash Patel is really trying to put down all of this reporting and squelch it because his job is really on the line.
Let me just make sure I understand what you're saying. Did he lie before Congress today?
You know, I would like to pause before I say that big word, if you don't mind, but I would say that I know it to be true, that at his direction, agents were polygraphed. And though I don't have the tape in front of me, I watched him today say that it was not true that these polygraphs were ordered by him.
Asha, let me bring you in on this. The first thing I thought when I saw that first exchange was I thought about all the pardon reporting that we have, and that these people are operating in a way that is very clearly in response to the literal distribution of pardons, that culture seems to have seeped into the things that we see that you used to be able to have some confidence that what was happening before Congress was sworn testimony, they take an oath. And I had the initial reaction that he was denying things that were sourced in stories with Carol and Ken's awesome number of sources with their combined decades of relationships in the agencies they cover. The Atlantic's, dozens of sources. And to come out and categorically basically smear all that reporting as false felt like a new chapter in his leadership at the FBI. What did you think?
Well, Nicole, the I'm rubber, you're glue defense is never really a great defense, but it's unbecoming, I think, for the director of the FBI. The FBI should be sticking straight to the facts, answering straightforwardly. We did not see that. And I think to your point, Nicole, what we're seeing, I think, is a manifestation of a culture of impunity, because really what is the deterrent for him? Even if he were to not tell the truth under oath, what enforcement is there? I think we can expect that all of these people are going to have pardons on their way out the door. I think that's what you're getting at. So there's no real incentive here. And, that's the culture that's been built. And there's also a personalist culture. I just want to add this, in terms of the signature bourbon bottles, etc. I think what we're seeing with these cabinet officials is sort of what we see with Trump, which is there's no ability to see that what the organization they're running is separate from themselves. It is them. For Kash Patel, he is the bureau. And so, he slaps his name on everything, challenge coins, bourbon bottles. I have to tell you, there's a lot of merch that's FBI, branded. I've never seen anything with an FBI director on it, with the exception maybe of J. Edgar Hoover, but, he's Hoover. Mm-hmm. So I think this is just a whole culture that we're seeing manifest right now.
Let me show all of you two pieces of sound. This is Kash Patel's response to a question about morale, and then this is Brian Driscoll reacting to the political purges that happened on Kash Patel's watch.
How's your morale at the FBI?
Morale has never been better. When I go across the country and I talk to the line agents and the intelligence analysts and professional staff, I travel around the country, I talk to our state and local partners. They tell me one thing resoundingly: we're finally going to do the work that we were asked to do with the resources that we needed to get the job done, and that's what this administration is focused on.
There was never any specific allegations or accusations coming from Beauvais that, okay, these people on this list committed some kind of legal or policy violation.
In the lawsuit, it says that Beauvais told you that an allegation of misconduct was not necessary for him to terminate FBI personnel if he subjectively felt a loss of confidence in their ability to carry out the president's agenda.
When that request was made, we take it in, okay, tell me more, why? Well, you know, cultural rot in the FBI.
That was a phrase they used, cultural rot.
Yes. All of these other uninformed and wrong opinions.
So everything that I have read about Brian Driscoll supports and suggests that he is sort of an agent's agent. I think one of the attempts he made publicly to try to save his job and protect those around him, which seems to be the motivating factor for most of the agents, to protect people under them and around them, was this very sort of Trump-friendly list of top 10 bad guys they caught. This is someone who tried to stay, tried to hold the line, and left and described basically bogus predicates for the political purges of agents who worked on the cases into Donald Trump. Asha, what is the true answer to the question, how's the morale at the FBI?
Well, Carol will have more sources than I do, but some of the words that the people that I know who are still there are using are clown show, utter chaos, and I think the morale is very low. I mean, this is a conservative small c organization. I think they thrive on sort of being a very steady ship, and you know, that's just not what it's been under Patel's watch.
Let me show you guys more of Brian Driscoll's interview with Anderson Cooper.
It's just disgusted and shocked.
Why were you disgusted?
Because now my fear that there was a political wave coming towards the FBI with vitriol directed at the FBI, it was palpable. And there was a sense of shock that, like, well, I'm really close to this thing.
It is a long way. Christy Greenberg from Willis testified too. Morale's never been higher. I mean, this is disgust and shock.
Yeah, I mean, the idea that he says, well, FBI agents are telling me they're happy, what do you think they're going to tell you? They're not going to tell you anything different, and you continue to polygraph everybody. That doesn't exactly speak to high morale. One thing I thought was interesting, when Patel was getting confirmed and he was in his hearing, he was specifically asked by Senator Blumenthal about whether anyone would be terminated for their case assignments. And Kash Patel said that would not happen. And he said all employees will be protected from retribution. And now we see the complete opposite happening. You see in that interview, former Agent Driscoll saying he was told by Kash Patel that that they basically are in a situation where he thought his job security would be on the line if he didn't fire these people. So those two things can't be true at the same time. Someone should be looking into that and finding out when exactly Patel had those conversations about firing FBI agents. He said in his hearing he had not had any discussions like that. So when was he told that his job could be on the line if he didn't fire these people? Did he lie under oath? But, to your point, again, if he did, who's prosecuting that? Certainly not this Department of Justice. Will they just pardon everybody on the way out for any lies that they tell in these hearings? And in that case, are they really just a farce?
Well, I guess we know from the failed attempt to indict Jim Comey and EDVA that the statute of limitations is longer than 2.5 years.
Right. I mean, again, a future Department of Justice, if there's not a pardon, could certainly look into this. I mean, I can think of one thing that I heard already in the hearing from Kash Patel that was clearly false. And that is, he said in that exchange with Senator Von Hollen that you were out there, he said to the senator, slinging margaritas in El Salvador with a convicted gang-banging rapist. And in that, he's referring to Kilmar Abrego Garcia, who was in court today. This is the person who was deported by mistake, that the government even admitted was a mistake. And this is somebody who the government has not convicted of anything. His case is still pending in Tennessee. For the FBI director to say, from presumably his little burn book of zingers that he's going after each senator for, that this is a person who is convicted of being a gang member, which that has not been proven in court, and he's not even charged with raping anyone. I mean, that is so irresponsible. I mean, what happened to the innocent until proven guilty? I mean, you see the juxtaposition between how reckless a statement like that is, that's demonstrably false, versus on your show yesterday, Jim Comey not wanting to even speak about his case because the rules in court are you're not supposed to do that, and the courts want you to just stick to court filings when discussing the merits of your case. So you can just see Kash Patel is an unserious person. I mean, it's obvious.
You know, Carol, what I thought was striking is he drinks on camera, right? So what happens in the locker room with the hockey team is on camera, and he seems very happy and very proud to be drinking, to be guzzling alcohol and spraying it on himself, and not just consuming it, but wearing it and then spreading it. And the topic of his alcohol consumption, it feels like he's got this absolutist denial of something that he felt so comfortable and confident doing. The cameras were rolling.
Yeah, I found it really shocking that we were able to obtain that video that Sunday after the gold medal victory of the men's ice hockey team, because I thought he might, if he was drinking, he was there for a personal trip, and it was in such direct, dire conflict with what he and his spokesperson had said about his purpose for visiting, that he might stay off camera or ask people not to film him, but that is what happened. You know, there are so many things today that, you know, you can't say that it meets the standard for intentionally making a false statement, but there were so many things today that just did not ring true. You know, I didn't order the firing of the members of this team that are specialists in Iran. I'm paraphrasing. That's not true. Those people were ordered, fired, and removed at his instruction. Sometimes I wonder about semantics with all administrations. All presidential administrations kind of use the English language to their advantage when they can. And I wonder about his claim when asked directly about whether his drinking has been to excess. He has said, "I've never been intoxicated on the job." That's not really the question. And that's not really the standard either for the sobriety. And I mean sobriety in the big definition of it, the broadest possible definition, the sobriety we expect as Americans of an FBI director.
I mean, Carol, let me just press you on this point, because what he testified to, and we'll pretend this is not.
Good evening, this is Elder G. God can move us up one more time, start us on our way, close us in our right mind, and I hope and pray that all our limbs are working properly. Remember the FBI Director, James Comey? James Comey was a Republican, and I'm a Democrat. But I watched James Comey on the news, and I watched James Comey interviews, and I watched how James Comey carried himself as an FBI agent. See, an FBI agent director has got a 10-year tenure. See, it don't matter who the president is, was it a Republican or a Democrat or an independent. The reason that they gave an FBI director 10 years because they want him to be independent from the president. The only decision that he's supposed to make is legal decisions. That's what his job is, and to make sure that the FBI be ran properly. James Comey is a Republican, but James Comey was not only just a Republican, he was respected by the Democratic, and he was respected by the independents as well as the Republicans as a director of the FBI. Remember Christopher Wray? Christopher Wray was a Republican, and he was a director of the FBI. Not only was Comey a Republican, he was white. He was a white male. Not only was Christopher Wray a Republican, he was also a white male. But you don't see me jumping on James Comey because he was a Republican and a white male, do you? You see me talking how honorable I think that James Comey was as an FBI director, even though I'm a Democrat. He was qualified for the job, and as far as I'm concerned, he did a good job. Christopher Wray is a Republican that was appointed by Trump to be the FBI director. He's supposed to have been there for 10 years. And when Joe Biden won the election, he didn't fire Christopher Wray. He could have fired him because he could have picked his own FBI director. But Joe Biden didn't do that. You know why? Because I'm a Democrat and I respected Christopher Wray as the FBI director. He had honor, he had respect, and he went by the law. I didn't care whether he was white or whether he was a Republican or a Democrat. The only thing I cared about is he going to be a good FBI director, and if he going to keep everybody protected, no matter what race you is, and no matter what party that you is a part of. I believe that Christopher Wray was going to treat me fair. That's why you ain't heard no complaints from me for Christopher Wray, even though he was a Republican and even though he's a white male. That's because I'm not prejudiced. I don't hate or dislike white people. I dislike dishonest people. I dislike prejudiced people. To the core. No matter what color they are. If you black and you prejudiced, I don't want nothing to do with you. If you Mexican and you prejudiced, I don't want nothing to do with you. If you Asian, Native American, Jew, if you prejudice, I'm against you. The Constitution is against you. God is against you. Christ is against you. The Mosaic Law and the New Covenant and the New Testament, they all against you. If you are against God and you against Christ, you are a dangerous person in the Constitution of the United States of America. There is two things in America that the Constitution do not allow. And the Constitution says that you can go to war. You can go as far as war to protect the Constitution. When they say that you can go to war to protect the Constitution, that means that if you need to kill to protect the Constitution from a dictator or a king or a traitor, the Constitution says that you can form a militia and you can go to war to protect the Constitution of the United States of America. And what do the Constitution mean? It means that every human being, whether you American citizen or not, if you are on American soil, You are entitled to due process. You have the freedom of speech. No matter where you from, you have a freedom of speech. You have freedom of the press. Whether you are an American citizen or not, you have freedom to talk to the press. You have freedom of religion no matter where you from. If you on American soil, you got the freedom of your religion. You got the freedom to bear arms. That means that you got the freedom to go out and get your permit and get you a license to carry a gun, whether you is an American citizen or not. All you have to do is pass the background check. You can bear arms. You got the freedom to petition your government. You got the freedom to assemble. If anybody, I don't care if it's the president, I don't care if it's the Supreme Court or the U.S. Senate or the House of Representatives, nobody have no more rights under the Constitution than you do. No one have greater power. No one have greater rights. That's why the people pick the president. The people. The people is the one that form a more perfect union. The people is the one that wrote the Constitution. The Constitution is of the people. It is for the people, and it is by the people. The president works for us. When our boss that we pay stop listening to us, we're supposed to stop following them. No matter who it is, if your government turns against you, take your tax dollars, put the National Guard, and have the National Guard to turn the guns on you, to have the National Guard and the Border Guard and the ICE agent shoot you down. That's in violation of the Constitution. No one has the right to take my life because I'm protesting. No one. No one have the right to throw me in jail and violate my freedom. That's what our president is doing. The president is taking the black and brown people tax money and he's building concentration camps. And he's buying planes that throw you on against your will and throw you out the country without due process. This president is no good to the core against black and brown people. You know I ain't lying. You know there's no way I can come on YouTube and Facebook and lie. You know I'm telling the truth. The only reason that I can speak this and Facebook don't cut me off and YouTube don't cut me off because Facebook know I'm not lying and YouTube know I'm not lying. Because I have the freedom to speak. As long as I'm not threatening nobody or treating somebody wrong, ain't nothing they can do. Because justice is supposed to prevail. Lady Justice is blind. She don't see color. She don't see how smart or dumb you are. She look at what the law says. The law says thou shalt not kill. And if you kill somebody and the jury convict you, the judge is going to lay the hammer down on you. You can't get convicted of the truth. If anybody afraid to speak the truth, you done turned your back on God. When you let an evil person do the things that they do, Kash Patel, he just sit up there in that hearing and just flat out lie. Everybody knows that Kash Patel is a drunk. How many times have we seen him just getting drunk on TV? We know that he ain't no good. The House and the Senate, they have oversight over him. All he gonna do is go and then back talk him. Tell me, on your job, can you go do that to Mercedes-Benz? Could you go in there to the CEO of Walmart or Target and talk back to them the way Kash Patel talked back to us and not be fired? He should have never had the job because he's not qualified. He ain't nothing but a drunk and a racist. I know he's an Indian, but he's not really an Indian. He's a white supremacist. White supremacist don't mean the color of your skin. A black man can be a white supremacist. A black man can be part of the Confederate. Do you know that black people fought with the Confederate? Black people fought to keep black people in slavery. Can you believe that? You got black Klansmen, black 3%ers, black patriot boys, black oath keepers. Just because of the color of your skin don't mean that you support your people and you support your race. Black people sell you out in a minute for a white woman or a little bit position over somebody else. I don't talk like this because I hate white people. White people taught me what I know. A Jewish man, a multimillionaire, taught me what money meant. He told me when I was working for him as a janitor, Manny Wyman. He told me, he said, Elder G, I'm going to tell you, because I was asking him about a raise, right? But he said he was going to give me something way more valuable than a raise. He going to take me under his wing. I didn't understand at the time what he was talking about, but he said that he going to teach me something that's priceless. He said, Elder G, he said, you don't work for money. And I was saying like, well, I think everybody do work for money. Ain't you working for money? No, he said, let me tell you something. He said, you don't work for money. He said, money works for you. See, if you working for money, you're going to work till you go back to the grave. But if you let money work for you, you'll prosper and you'll be able to help all your employees live a better life. Just think about this. If God took me to be a multimillionaire, and I take the knowledge that God has given me, I take the blessing that God has given me above measure, and I take that knowledge and I spread it to all my sisters and brothers and all my employees. And I tell them and teach them the same way Mr. Wyman taught me. My brother and sister, you don't work for money. Because if you work for money, you're going to work all your life. And at the end of your life, you ain't going to have nothing. But we supposed to let money work for us. That's why when you join a church, you pay tithes, right? You pay 10% of your income. And say, for example, like New Birth, say you got 35,000 people. Let's say your congregation on a Sunday, by TV or radio or by in person, let's say you got 35 or 40,000 members in your church. This is what Mr. Wyman was telling me. He was showing me if you, as a Christian, go under the headship of Christ and let Christ lead you and let Christ guide you in the way that he would have you to go, that there ain't no way that you can't prosper. The only reason why you don't prosper because you don't follow God's instruction. God's instruction said, oh no man. I mean, don't have no debt. And he also say, why do you spend money for that which is not bread? Why are you wasting $50,000, $80,000, $100,000 on a car that you may have to pay $1,000 a month and $500 insurance? Why would you put yourself in that kind of hole? Well, your monthly outgo is $3,000 or $4,000, sometimes $5,000. Why would you do that? When all you have to do is follow Christ's instruction and let your money work for you. 40,000 people under one leadership. If you went to church, 40,000 people gave $1, not 10%, not 15%. If each one of those members on a Sunday gave just $1 with a congregation of 40,000 people, every Sunday you're going to take up 100,000, 200,000, 300,000, 400,000. Some big churches, $2 or $3 million on a Sunday, on one Sunday. So where's all that money going? It's just being wasted. Because if it was used the way that Christ wanted it to be used, wouldn't no poor people be in this country? The church would be the one that owned all the grocery stores. The Christian folk would be the one that owned all the gas stations. The Christian people would be the one that owned Home Depot and Lowe's and Outback Steakhouse and Texas Roadhouse. The Christian folks under Jesus Christ has got more money than any entity in this world. But the church ain't hardly got nothing. The federal government, look what the federal government got. All them government bills you see, your tax dollar bill that. All the road that you drive up and down, your tax dollar did that. All them fancy planes, all them big old aircraft carrier, all those F-15s and F-22s, the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, the Marines. Your federal tax dollar pay for all of that. But the church ain't got nothing. But the church has got more money than anybody. They don't even have to pay taxes on their money. Their money is to take care of the widows. To take care of the orphan kids that have lost their parents. To take care of strangers that within your gates. To feed the hungry. To build up what is torn down. To strengthen what is weak. They making God look bad. How can you take in more money and don't have to pay no taxes? And you see what the federal government do with all of their money. But the church ain't doing nothing with their money but wasting it on good times. Instead of, ain't nowhere in the Bible it tells you to take your tithe money and go build a fancy, a $32 or $52 million church building. It tells you to feed the hungry. It tells you to help take care of the widow. To help take care of the orphan kid that lost their parent. And also to help support and support the preachers. in their spiritual work and take in strangers. Nowhere it told you to take the people tax dollars and go out and build a sanctuary to yourself. All through the Old Testament, there was no churches. There was only the tabernacle that Moses built and the temple. And once or twice a year, God would tell you where to go. He'll tell you where he put his name. And he asks you to travel there and to give him praise and worship. The church, they can lost sight of what God's purpose is. To build up, to strengthen, to help people build bridges over troubled waters, to turn the valleys into beautiful lilies. And then ultimately, Jesus is going to be your bright and morning star. Kash Patel is a terrible FBI director. He's a joke. You're going to let your sons and daughters be led by a drunk, a joke. You ought to be ashamed of yourself. You're doing it just because you're prejudiced. But you're not going to stop the black and the brown people. Look at all you did since the 1300s. And the black and brown people is 90% of the world's population while you had your foot around their neck. Keep on pushing us. Keep on pushing God. Keep on challenging Christ and see what happens. Thank you.